Hey there. Welcome back to Soul to Self, the Inner Compass podcast. I'm your host, Victoria, and today we're diving into one of the most crucial traits that determine our success, not just in business, but in life: resilience. In our last episode, we heard Hannah's powerful story of overcoming the impossible odds. If you haven't listened yet, I really encourage you to, because her story is one of true strength and perseverance. But today we're bringing this down to you, your journey, your struggle, and how you can cultivate resistance in your own life. So many of us hit setbacks and immediately question everything: our abilities, our worth. Even when we should just keep going, we get in our own head and we start to think about what we should be doing or what we could have been doing. And I totally get it, because I've been there, and it's not a nice place to be. The difference between staying stuck and moving forward, though, is how we respond. So in this episode, I'm going to be sharing with you the mindset of growth versus the mindset of being stuck, the role of optimism, solution orientation, and purpose in resilience, how to know when to push forward and when to pivot or make a change. As always, we'll have a mid-episode oracle card pull for some guidance from the universe, and also a practical way to shift from frustration into empowerment for you. This is going to be a powerful episode. So take a deep breath, get comfy, and whatever you're doing, let's dive into it. So let's start by talking about the core differences between those who move forward despite challenges and those who feel trapped by them. It all comes down to mindset, really. We've all been in situations where we felt stuck, helpless, or like nothing we do makes a difference. Maybe you've been pouring all of your energy into your business and haven't yet seen the results that you desire. Or life has thrown an unexpected challenge your way. And this is where we need to recognize the difference between kind of a growth and a stuck mindset. So people with a growth mindset see failures as feedback. Like there's no end point for them. So if something goes wrong, life gets in their way, they just see it as a little bit of feedback as to how they can take an opportunity to do something different. They believe that challenges are the learning and growing, and they look for the opportunity within them. They focus very heavily on the next step. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, they think, what can I do next to start moving again? Or what can I do, one tiny thing that's going to gain momentum? And they know that things can change for the better. Whatever situation that they are in, they trust that things with the right actions can start to move forward, can be different. They see another way. And I think one of the things that I've noticed about everyone I've spoken to that has this natural growth mindset is they're always focused on inspired action. And it doesn't matter how small it is or how major it is, they will do something to keep energy moving. So if you think about it on an energetic level, they try not to sit in that stagnation or the lower vibe energies. They try to bring it back to movement and the more positive vibe energies. And something that I've also noticed is they will have this big picture goal or this big picture destination that they're working to, but they have that almost in the back of their head or as a bigger vision. And they always just focus on that next step in front of them. It's like they don't get overwhelmed by that huge thing. They break it down. Now, the stuck mindset. And if you resonate with this, don't berate yourself. Know that most people who have a growth mindset at some point experience the stuck mindset or have experienced it. And they've just worked really hard and developed habits that allow them to be in that growth mindset. And that's the whole point of being here, listening to this podcast and progressing in your business and your life. But the stuck mindset, they believe that setbacks are permanent. It's like something will go wrong and they'll throw the baby out with the bathwater. They feel like victims of circumstances. So people in stuck mindsets, you'll often hear them saying things like, it's easy for them because, or it's easy for them to say they haven't had my experience. They avoid taking action due to the fear of failure. No, rather than just taking imperfect actions and little steps, they will try to perfect everything. They will try to control all of the outcomes and they won't take that natural risk. That fear of failure overwhelms everything else. They see only problems, not possibilities. And this is probably one of the hardest ones because they want to see the possibilities. And so when they sit down to do their business plan, and you may have been there, I've been there. I've sat down to create a service or to do a launch on something. And rather than looking for the ways to make it happen or the solutions to the problem, I've just seen the problems, been like, but it's very niche or it's not niche enough. And you sit in that energy of lack and not trusting yourself. And so you just don't see the possibilities and the opportunities. You just get stuck in the problems and you start to try and work through the problems that if you just pushed aside and kept going would actually dissipate. I've, now, the biggest difference is a growth mindset trusts the process. It knows that situations now do not define what's possible next. There was a time in my business when I felt completely stuck. I had taken time away, I'd lost momentum, and I questioned whether I could come back to the kind of work that I was passionate about and loved. And the version of me that was stuck in that stuck mindset would have said, okay, this is time to stop. Maybe I'm not meant to do this anymore. I'd be looking to the universe for reasons why this wasn't my path, why this wasn't meant to be. And then it would be looking at the external factors of life, like, oh, I can't do this because I don't have childcare then. Or no, my family needs me to be finished work at this time to have tea on the table. And all of those things that you can hear it, like even remembering that kind of mindset that it's just almost fabricated and looking for the problem, staying stuck. But when I was at that point, my growth mindset was there, thankfully, and it was saying, what if this is just a season? What if this is an opportunity to come back stronger? What if this is an opportunity to be more aligned, more clear than ever before and to delve deeper into that mission piece of what you see yourself doing for the world? And that's what kind of happened at that time in my business. So when I'm going back to that kind of point that I'm thinking about when I'm talking to you, it was a point where I'd had a child-minding business, which had allowed me to be a full-time stay-at-home mum. And I was creating resources for other childminders to help them to set their business up. I was helping them with their paperwork and logging or Ofsted and things like that. And I had trained in the background to be a clinical hypnotherapist and a counselor and psychotherapist. I'd also done my Reiki and had been given an opportunity to go and work for a rather large online psychic company. And I took some of those opportunities and started doing them alongside the childminding. But it came to a point we'd had some time off on holiday and a few of my childminding clients were coming to an end. And I was like, okay, I feel quite stuck now. Where do I go next? I've taken time away from the childminding and I've not really been growing the business. So I've lost some momentum with that. And my therapeutic side of my business, I've just taken time off and I hadn't really been putting that much effort into that because I've still had my feet in both ponds, as it were. And so I sat down and I thought, okay, maybe this is the time to stop. Maybe I just need to go and do something different now. I had my second child who was coming up for 18 months. And I just sat back and I was like, okay, what season am I in now? Okay, I've been through a couple of seasons of heavy growth. And then where do I want to go? And I decided to actually stop the childminding. I decided to take the opportunity with the psychic company and to grow my therapeutic practice. And it was amazing. When I actually leant into this is my opportunity to come back stronger, it was incredible. I had this business where I was providing spiritual guidance readings for people. I was teaching Reiki. I was teaching spiritual development, teaching everyone everything from reading tarot cards to palmistry and auras and chakras and all of the things. And then I was also working with women making huge shifts in their life and doing hypnotherapy and counseling and really leaning into that transformational space with incredible women who didn't see how incredible they were. And it was amazing. But had I have let the fear of failure or change dictate the future, I wouldn't have made that pivot. I wouldn't have done something differently. I might have gone and got a job for someone else, or I might have just grown the childminding again because it was what I knew and it was the thing that was easy. I had a network for it that although I hadn't nurtured intensely, I could still nurture quite easily and dig into. So it's just about when you find yourself in that space of that stuck mindset, it's like, how can I transform this to a growth mindset? Now, I want to take a step back from that because, okay, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? But it's not always as simple as it may seem. We have to develop a degree of resilience within us and within our businesses and within our lives. And it's not just about staying strong or forging ahead when we really want to take time to relax and heal or just rest. It's about how you approach your life challenges. So I think there are 4 key traits to resilience that people can have and people do naturally have, and how you could lean into them and cultivate them to help you through this and any mindset struggle for that matter. So one is like realistic optimism. True resilience isn't about toxic positivity. It's about realistic optimism. And that means acknowledging challenges and being aware of them, but fundamentally in your core, allowing yourself to believe that things can get better. And a great way to develop this that's so simple is gratitude. Even when things are hard, look for that one thing that's still working okay, or that one thing that still gives you pleasure or joy and that you are grateful for. Have a short practice that is about gratitude. So even if that is as simple as at the end of the day, thinking of one thing you were grateful for, or logging in a journal 3 things you were grateful for. Start where you're at and progress. And what this actually does is it rewires your brain to look for possibilities instead of problems. A lot of people think gratitude is a very woo-woo practice, and it's not actually. It's scientific and it is about co-creation with, yes, the universe, if you are inclined to believe that, which I do, but also with your mind. It's a saying, and this sometimes for a spiritual entrepreneur is a little bit harder, or someone who's spiritual and alive, solution orientation. Now, instead of focusing on the problems and sitting in a pity party, resilient people focus on solutions. Now, I know we've all heard of SMART goals being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. But actually, it's a very simple thing that is solution orientated and does stop stuckness. Instead of sitting with, I feel stuck, ask yourself, what's one small thing that I can do today to move my situation forward? And it doesn't matter how small it is. Progress is progress, and any steps are greater than doing nothing. And a good example of this is if business feels slow, or you're not getting the clients in numbers that you want them in, set a goal to connect with a new person each day and take that small action daily, because eventually it will create massive momentum. So another thing that people who are quite resilient have in common is they have a support network. There is power in support. And a lot of people who are quite resilient don't do it alone. They lean on people within their community or within their family. And so think about when you do feel stuck, who are you reaching out to? Who is the person that you can go to and just share that stuck feeling with that can help you to see a way forward? If you're navigating business challenges, particularly as a spiritual entrepreneur, who in your life resonates with those unique challenges that you have, and where is your support network and how can you tap into that? This can be something like finding a mentor or a coach or a like-minded group of people, just connecting with someone who can just inspire you that little bit, or maybe give you a bit of reflection to see something in a different way is so powerful. I know for myself, having moved sort of 300 miles down to my dream location, I lost a lot of my support network in terms of going to in-person networking events. And I'm just in the process of kind of building that up again. And I have it online. But for me, being in person and having those connections where you have a community and you talk over things that are unique to women in business, spiritual women in business, it's a game changer. And also having a good coach and mentor for me has also been quite a game changer. So the other thing that I think is really key to helping develop resilience is purpose. Now, I'm not going to dwell too much on the word purpose because I think it's a bit of a overused word in many senses. And I think it comes with the connotation of pressure, that if you haven't found your purpose in life, you're suddenly doing something wrong. But I think people look at purpose in the wrong way. And I think purpose is something that we give ourselves. And I don't think it is that. I think it changes over time. And I think it's what our soul is leading us to at that moment in time and for that period of time. And purpose is what keeps us going, even when things are tough. And I think an alternative way to frame purpose is why. So for me, when I first started out on my business journey, my why was I didn't want to be away from my children and I didn't want to miss anything that they did at school and growing up. And so my biggest kind of driver was creating a business that allowed me to be a mum first, because being a mum was like my sole purpose for being. And I had so much joy in being a mum and so much fulfillment from being in that role that it was just inconceivable for me to go out to work and do something that meant leaving my children with another person and missing out on the assemblies, taking them to school and being with them in the school holidays. Now, that is not for everyone, and that is okay. That's perfectly okay. But my mother-in-law used to call me crazy that I used to have a countdown on my phone to the next lot of holidays. And I used to have a massive wall in my house with activities that we were going to do over the holidays and things we were going to experience. And she thought I was bonkers. And she's probably not wrong, but it's tapping into your why. For me, that was such a driver. But the other thing that went alongside that was I've always been passionate about helping people. I've always had this part of me that's a caregiver. I can see the best in people. I can see their strengths. And even when they can't see it for themselves, I can see their unlimited potential within them. And I can guide them and help them to heal, to access that for themselves. And so they become limitless. And so that was my other why. I wanted to help women. I still want to help women now to see their own unique gift that they have to share with the world, because I think most women who come into my world are just unstoppable, incredible beings, and they just don't always see it for themselves. So write down your bigger purpose or your why. Let's frame it as a why. And when you are feeling stuck and you need to dig in and find that resilience, have a look at that, because that's your reason then for overcoming and moving forward. That was all quite a lot to take in, wasn't it? So I think now let's just take a moment and have a little pause and see what messages we can have from the Oracle cards today. The Oracle message for today is, I am receiving the support that I need. Wow, that's timely. So let's think about situations of like our mindset. How do we shift from that place of frustration to empowerment? What do you do when you're in the middle of frustration, self-doubt, feeling stuck? I'll tell you what I do. I do something called a simple energy shift practice. And how you do this is you just close your eyes and take a deep breath. You can try it now. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. And in your mind's eye, just visualize a crossroads. One path is filled with self-doubt, fear, and frustration. But ahead of you at this crossroads, there's another path. And that path's filled with possibility, resilience, growth, and inner knowing. And I just want you to ask yourself, which path do I choose today? And then repeat after me, I trust my journey. Every setback is set up for my next breakthrough. I have the power to shift my energy. You'll take a deep breath and then, open your eyes. What's one action you can take right now to step into that version of yourself? And you can use that practice or develop similar for yourself, but that is an actual practice that I use for myself when I'm like, okay, everything feels like it's a bit of a mess and I'm spiraling and I don't know what to do and I'm overwhelmed, and I'm like, okay, that's the path of fear, self-doubt, and frustration. Path of possibility, resilience, and growth. I'm at the junction. Which one am I going to take? Okay, I'm always going to choose the possibility and the growth and the opportunity. So then I have to trust myself. I have to start to trust in my journey. I have to trust that any setbacks have been there for a reason, that they're giving me a breakthrough or I'm learning something from them. And then I have to trust deeply in my own energy, in my ability to shift the energy, and in my faith in the universe and in myself, that if I just take another step, that I'll be going forward and making things happen, growing. Resilience isn't about never struggling, and it's not about toxic positivity. I used that phrase earlier. I do think it exists in the world today, and I do think we see a lot of it online, where we are constantly bombarded with messages that make us compare and make us doubt ourselves. So resilience isn't about not struggling or not having some times that feel harder than other times. It's about knowing that you have the power to rise again. And if you take one thing from today's episode and just apply that into your life, it will be super powerful. It really will. And I think one thing that's worth sharing with you today is that we expect to be in constant state. And The reality is, something that's massively overlooked in our journey is the natural seasons of growth that we go through as people. And one of the biggest mistakes we make when we feel stuck is assuming that we should be moving at the same speed all of the time. That if we're not in full bloom, something's wrong. And the truth of the matter is that we're part of nature. And just like nature, we go through season and each season has a purpose. And the key to resilience isn't just about forging ahead no matter what. And even at that crossroads, it's not necessarily about going a million miles an hour when you choose the path of purpose and action. It's about recognizing which season are you in and honoring that rather than resisting it. But I think there are 4 seasons of growth. We have the spring, which we are actually in now, if you're listening to this podcast at the time that it was recorded, where we're planting seeds and new beginnings. This is the season of ideas, inspiration, fresh start. It's full of possibility. It's got a renewed energy, and it's a great time to start projects and take inspired energy. But the seeds you plant don't bloom overnight. We don't expect things to instantly grow. Growth takes time and patience is key. And that growth mindset in spring is where you embrace excitement while knowing that things take time. Duck mindset in spring is when you expect instant results. You want instant gratification for all of the things you're doing, and then you get discouraged when that doesn't happen because it can't happen, can it? So if you're in spring and you notice that's the season that you're in, focus on planting the right seeds and trust the process. Take aligned action without rushing for instant results because you're not going to get them. Now, another season, obviously, is summer, and summer is about growth and expansion. And it's a season where things are in full bloom. So you're seeing the progress. You've got a bit of momentum. Things are in flow. Things are expanding around you. But this is also a time that requires quite a lot of energy and commitment to maintain what you've built. So if you think about it like a garden, your flowers are in full bloom, but if you don't go out and deadhead them, you're not going to get another lot of flowers, or you're not going to really appreciate the beauty of what you do have because you're going to have fresh flowers and ones that need tending. So a growth mindset in summer is where you ride the wave of success and you maintain it and you stay adaptable and you're learning and you like the energy stuff is expanding all of the time. If, however, you're in a stuck mindset when you get to summer, what you can do is you can overextend yourself. The fear of slowing down and going into a different season could mean that you push at a million miles an hour and you do risk losing everything because you can't maintain it. And that expansion becomes faster than you can cope with. So it's like weeds alongside your flowers. You may get weeds, but they grow quicker. And whilst that quick growing energy is a positive thing in terms of business expansion, it can take over and it can actually strangle the beauty of things. That makes sense. So if you are in a summer season right now, enjoy your momentum. Don't burn out trying to sustain an intensity that's not sustainable. Know that it does need to come to an end as well. It will need to slow down at some point. Now, autumn is like the cozy season. It's the reflection, but it's also the harvest. This is a season where you actually reap what you've sown. You celebrate your wins and you reflect on what's working and what's not. It's where you recalibrate. A time to refine and prepare for the thing that's coming next for you. Some things will need to be let go of in autumn. There will be projects that you've started that haven't quite got to where you want to be. There'll be beliefs that you've had that you need to change or surrender. There'll be habits that no longer serve you. If you've been getting up at 5 a.m. to go for a run during summer, in autumn, as the nights start to become longer, you might not want to do that because you might not want to go out and run in the dark. And I know that's a silly example, but it is a working and realistic example of where we need to adapt with the seasons and the growth and the time that we're in. And I know I match them to the actual season, but these seasons can happen at any time. Growth mindset in autumn. People take assessment. They celebrate the progresses and they make intentional shifts and start to think about what they can do differently. Now, in autumn, if you're in a stuck mentality or stuck mindset, you're going to have this massive fear of letting go. You're going to fear change and you're going to obsess so harshly over what went wrong or what you weren't happy with when you were in the other seasons. So just watch out for that. And if you are in your autumn season right now, take time to reflect without judgment. Don't be harsh on yourself. Celebrate what's worked and learn from what didn't, because this is where realignment happens. This is where the big changes within you and your business and your life, this is where they happen. Now, winter. Winter's a season of rest and renewal. Winter is the season that most people resist because it's about slowing down and pausing and deeply realigning. Winter is a very transformational season, and people often overlook the importance of winter. It can feel like nothing's happening. It can feel like you're not making progress. But actually, this is where the deep work happens. This is where the inner work happens. And just like seeds resting before they spring, this is where you restore your energy. This is where you process lessons. And this is where you prepare for your next cycle of growth. And if you have been through any life events that have caused you traumatic responses, or you have gone through summer and you've created a little bit of overwhelm or burnout, this is where winter is so important, because you're going to process all of that and you're going to get rid of it. We don't need to hold on to energy. And you're going to restore your beautiful energy to be able to go into the next season. So winter, from people with a growth mindset, trust that this quiet phase is needed. They trust that this is the next level of expansion. And people who are in a stuck mindset when winter comes around panic. They compare themselves to everyone around them and they push themselves too soon, too hard, and it leads to burnout. And it is actually, in my opinion, a form of self-sabotage. If you are in your winter season right now, give yourself permission to slow down without guilt, because this is a sacred phase of rest and realignment right before the next breakthrough. When we don't honor our season, we start comparing our journeys to others who are in completely different phases. And your season doesn't need to align with the actual physical seasons or anybody else's season. It's about you. And if you're in wintering season, rest, recover. Don't compare yourself to someone who's in summer season and they're thriving and growing, because you'll just feel like you're failing, and you're not failing. What you're doing is you're preparing. And when you're in that place in your business, and I've been there, I don't share anything on this podcast that I have not experienced. And I've been there, I've been looking around at other entrepreneurs and other businesses who are thriving and launching, they're creating, scaling. And I'm sat wintering with my notebook and journaling and shifting some stuff that happened in life. And you just get that voice in your head that's like, you're behind. You need to be doing that. Why can't I just get myself together and start launching something or put something out? And you know what? Not about that. Because I wasn't seeing the seasons for what they were. And I hadn't looked at maybe they've had their winter season and they're in their summer, or maybe they're in spring. And I've not seen what they've gone through before to get to that point. I'm comparing my behind the scenes and real life with someone's highlight reel, really. And it's sabotaging. You make yourself make rash decisions based on fear rather than alignment. And if you take nothing away from any of the episodes, but I'm sure you'll take lots away from lots of the episodes, what you really need to think about is your journey is unique to you, and that's okay. There is no behind, there is no better than. It's just you, and it's present and alignment. And that's where you'll get your greatest joy and your greatest financial return as well. As a business owner, you want to know when the money's at, and you are not going to make money when you are making fear-based decisions because it comes across as desperation. You will make money when you are offering clear help to other people that they see as valuable. And this is where mindset matters. So if you're in a growth mindset, you will know when it's time to pause and reflect. And when you're in a stuck mindset, you'll react impulsively. Thank you so much for joining me again. And I hope this episode has given you some information about why we get to where we are sometimes, but also some perspectives and some actionable pieces that can help you to either change your mindset and create your resilience. It's not about constantly pushing forward. It's about knowing when to move forward and when to pause, when to realign, when to trust the process, when to go through things in the right way. Speaking of trusting journeys, next episode, which will be next week, I have an absolutely incredible guest for you. And I'm going to say that about every guest because they're all incredible. I'm so humbled for the ladies who have trusted me with their stories and spoken to me. So I'll be speaking to Vanessa. Vanessa is a beauty and wellness professional whose story is powerful. And it's a testament to resilience in the craziest of ways and healing and reinvention, really. She faced life-altering health challenges that forced her to rebuild not just her business, but her entire approach to life. And if you've ever felt like you've had to start over, or you're at that point now in your life where things have happened and you're going to need to start over, please tune in and listen to this one because it's so inspiring. Make sure you're subscribed. And if today's episode has resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend. Feel free to reach out to me about anything you'd like to see on the podcast. And if you are having any specific struggles within your spiritual business and balancing that business and life piece, please do reach out to me. And if it's something that we can talk about on a future episode and perhaps in the next series, I really will explore the possibility of doing that because I want people to get things out of this podcast. Until next time, thank you.